10 seconds to go before we get TT22 underway, with our newcomers heading out onto the TT mountain course. 37 3/4 miles. Milky Quayle's away, Glen Irma's away, Young Kringle's away. Oh, this is so great to see.
For many a road racing fan, the Isle of Man TT is the centrepiece of the year, and behind the scenes, the feeling never gets old for one of the most important figures in the paddock. Richard Milky Quayle, former TT race winner and now Rider Liaison Officer, plays a crucial role in making sure things run smoothly during the racing fortnight. A proud Manxman with a lifelong passion for the races, he has several important responsibilities, such as providing coaching to newcomers and being a point of contact for riders and teams. Given his role, and with TT 2023 just a matter of days away, I caught up with Milky to get a bit of an insight into what his job entails, his ongoing love for the TT, and efforts everyone goes to be part of one of the biggest motorsports events in the world.
Ultimately, my job, I've classed myself so fortunate that I may be able to be involved in the TT, and TT's been my life since I was a young boy, and obviously to be able to participate in it, and then obviously still now be involved in it, it's fantastic. So we have everyone thinks that the TT must have like hundreds and hundreds of people working on the team and stuff, but we're only a really small team, so we generally have to do quite a lot of things. We have to multitask, and so the beauty of the event only being a 2-week event effectively is that you can spend a lot of the year doing something, and then another part of the year doing this, and then a part of the year doing that, and so ultimately my main priority role is to teach the newcomers as pretty much like a rider coach effectively, just trying to keep them safe and enjoyment, and also I want them to go fast as well, because now the TT is at such a high level that the newcomers can't just wobble around and think, well, I can just build up gradually. They have to be on fire straight away. They have to know the course inside out straight away, and we work really hard through the winter. People don't see us out. There's myself and Johnny Barton. He's my colleague. He works with the rider coaching as well, and we're literally out every weekend. We're always out middle of winter, November. We generally start October, November. And generally there's always someone coming over for a weekend and that just wants to have a little bit of a look around and see. And so we're just driving around first thing in the morning when it's nice and quiet. It's pointless going out in the middle of the day because you just sat behind a bus or a truck or something. So, we're always up like 8-9 o'clock in the morning, Saturdays and Sunday mornings, just driving around. I'm telling the lads, look, watch for this danger here. Make sure you're on the brakes here, get the bike up right here, watch this bump on the power here. So it's literally just a basic knowledge for them. So when they first set off down Bray Hill, they've got an idea what they're going to encounter, because it is completely out of their zone. They've never experienced something like here. There's nowhere in the world that even comes anywhere near this place. You go to the Northwest, which is again just been and gone now, but it's like a billiard table. There's no bumps on the Northwest as such, and it's a mass start, so you're always riding with somebody else. So you can pretty much, as a newcomer, you can go to the Northwest and learn within 2 or 3 laps following somebody. You can pretty much learn the line, whereas here you can't do that. It's just so long. It's just immense. It's immense.
Just on that point, like you say, one of the big roles is coaching the newcomers over time. What sort of, I suppose, conversations do the likes of yourself and Johnny have to have with, say, the DOI? Because obviously all the roadworks just continue throughout the year because they're roads. So how does that change the nature of the course? Does it change quite a lot over the course of 12 months?
Yeah. Generally, as regards to the road side of things, I mean, that's Barty's role now. Barty has taken that under his wing a little bit, and he works really closely with the DOI, because it's really nice to have like a rider's perspective on what needs to be done on the track and how we can make it safer and smoother and better. And ultimately the DOI, I always feel sorry for the DOI. They get a bit of a bad rap because they're probably the biggest department on the Isle of Man. And everyone pays indirectly into their road tax, so they pay their £300 a year on road tax. They expect to see results, and it's such a big company effectively, the DOI, and they have so much to do with so many roads, and everybody wants the road outside their house as smooth as possible, and there's so many roads on the Isle of Man, and we are very fortunate they do help us with the TT course, because ultimately we have to try and make it as smooth as possible and take any dangers out, like Sulby Straight for instance. It's generally got worse and worse over the last 3 or 4 years. It's just drops. I mean, it does. It comes in sequence. I think it's the trees underneath the road just suck the moisture out of the subsoil, and the next thing is the tarmac starts to drop. And when you're going down Sulby Straight now over 200 miles an hour, and your top riders are telling you there's a big problem that I can't go flat, I can't go fast as down there now. But there needs to be something done. So we're very fortunate that the DOI have been able to do that for us this year. So now it's like a billiard table again. So at least we'll get another 3 or 4 years out of it without having to do any maintenance on it again. And they always have maintenance structures in place that they know that they go, like Windy Corner, for instance, they knew the surface was starting to break up. So that's not just for us, that's for everyday general traffic. So they have to work with us as regards to, if we put this bit of tarmac here, will this affect the road racing line? So it's really good that we're able to work with them, and that they are so cooperative with us. Whereas if it was in the UK, they'll just go, no, this is the way it is, this is the way it's staying. Whereas over here, they will listen to us, which we are very, very fortunate.
Coming back to the point of newcomers, there you get to speak to them, you get to coach them, you take them out obviously on the the newcomers lap. That's the first thing that happens of a TT fortnight. I mean, just from your side of things, when you actually get back and you speak to them, or even just during the rest of the week, how many different ranges of emotions do you come across? Because I imagine there's some out there that have just got their eyes popping out their head thinking, I can't believe I'm doing this, whereas others might be a little bit jittery, they might not be used to it. So how many different types of newcomers do you come across?
Yeah, well, again, it's just personalities, mate. That's the thing with any TT rider. It's like anybody in the street, isn't it? Everyone's wired different, I suppose. And some lads are pretty hyper. I mean, it's like likes of Connor, for instance. He's laid back. He's Mr. Laid Back, isn't he? Bruce Anstey was always the same as well. He was like, literally have a sleep before he went out down Bray Hill. 5 minutes, you have to wake him up before the race. And whereas other lads, you can just see are completely wired. And everyone operates different. Everyone completely operates different, and it's just a matter of trying to make it work the best for them. You've obviously got to try and keep them calm and cool, which is a major thing. It's pointless being worked up because you're not helping yourself. I always used to have it myself. People used to say to me, "Well, you're very calm before the race," and you're like, "Well, what's the point?" And for me, it was what was the point in getting worked up? And you've got to obviously you need to keep your heart rate down so your body can control it. Whereas it's pointless having your heart rate flat out because it's going to be flat out anyway because you're trying to wrestle a complete monster around the circuit. So your brain needs to be calm and cool and to operate your body as well as what's trying to analyse in front of you because you are going so fast. So everyone's wired different and everyone approaches it different. So there's no real textbook. You must do this, you must do that. You've just got to try and work out what the characters are and what works best for them.
And just on that point there, like you say, there could be some who are quite similar to the way you'd approach it. Others are the polar opposite. So, how do you? I suppose you have to be like a bit of a manager at times in some ways for some of them. If they've got queries about you or the course or whatever it is. I mean, how tough a job is that, or do you find it becomes naturally to you?
I wouldn't say I was a manager so much. It's more just you're just there to take any flack and and aggro effectively, because some people do get annoyed and some people get stressed over it, and you just got to try and likes of me and Bart are always around, so we're there just a little another shoulder to cry on effectively, and it's just nice to do that. And it's amazing the newcomers are, because once you've done it, you realise how amazing it is. So it's just nice to give them the guidance to say, look, yeah, okay, I know it's scary, I know it's fast, but if you just relax and you enjoy it, then you'll have a better experience effectively. So generally, as the rule, though, all the riders that we take now to the TT, Manx Grand Prix is a little bit different, but all the TT riders now are very, very experienced lads. They've done racing since they were wee boys, so they've had years and years and years of being sat on the start line before a race. It's not as though it's a new thing to them. Okay, the TT is a new thing to them, but an actual start line procedure and stuff, it's their job effectively. So they know it, they're used to it, they can manage their hassle. So it's not too much of a problem for that. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, they're going to encounter something that's completely different that they've ever done before, but that in some ways is good. It's everyone likes to do something different, don't they? It's like, oh yeah, well that's not just going to work every day. It's that's different, yeah. And so yeah, it's just nice to be there. I'm always in the park firmly. I'm always on the start line. So if the boys ever do have an issue, we're always there to talk to each other. And the good thing is with the TT as well. I know it's competitive, but everyone's been in that situation of being a newcomer before. Every rider that's out there, so they understand how hard and difficult it is. So even like if someone went to one of the newcomers this year went to John McGuinness and asked him a question, John would talk to him. Whereas if it was a World Championship level, it would be like, I'm not talking to you. I'm not giving you any advice. You're my opposition. Whereas here on the Isle of Man, we're like a big family really, and everyone's there to help each other out.
Like you say, not just general advice around the course, but if anyone has any like gripes or concerns. I mean, there was a lot of disruption last year because of numerous different circumstances. So, were there any particular gripes that, say, riders or teams had that you would like to see addressed for this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, last year was a particularly hard year for the fact that we'd had COVID and the 2 years away, so we effectively were 3 years behind. So it was all a bit new to everybody again. It was like starting again with everybody. So people experienced bumps on the track that they hadn't experienced, they'd forgotten about effectively. So it's like, well, this is a problem. Yeah, but it's not changed. It's still the same as it was 3 years ago. And you pretty much, in our job, you're literally firefighting for 3 weeks. You're literally solving problems. You just literally go from one problem to another problem to another problem to another problem. Obviously, the problems change during the week as well, even just as regards to the setup in the paddock, because someone goes, I don't want to park next to him because I've had a row with him before, and you've been putting me next to him, and I don't talk to him, and so you have to try and be a bit delicate and try and move him around, and so you're literally every year it throws up new problems, and they are challenging problems, but again, that's life, isn't it? You know, we all have that issues with everything in life. You know, one week your car's running fine, the next week your car breaks down or your washing machine breaks down, and it's all stress and hassle. And it's just the same as the TT. You know, every year there's always something that gets thrown up, but that's part of life.
I suppose the fact that we are now in a situation compared to 2022 that people are getting regular events in, whether it's road events or out on the short circuits. I mean, how important is that for the likes of newcomers coming in, that they're getting that regular series of rides effectively compared to, say, last year where things were a little bit uncertain going into TT?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the lads are now, there's a lot more freedom to move around and stuff, and a lot of people can do a lot more racing. And you know, saddle time, bum on seat time is precious for a rider. You know, getting a feel for the bike and feel what the bike's doing underneath you. So the more time you can have on that, the better, the more comfortable you feel heading off down Bray Hill. Again, last year was a little bit. I mean, for the top boys, the likes of Hickey, Dean Harrison, they were doing BSB every weekend. So that they didn't. If anything, they were probably riding more than they would have done this year, effectively. So the boys are still going to be. Everyone's going to be up to speed and stuff. And again, now with the mountain course license, now in the past you could have just done the TT every year, never ridden at any other event. Whereas now with the mountain course license implementation. Put my teeth back in. You have to be riding pretty much all year. You have to do a certain amount of meetings before you actually come to the TT. So it's like that's to keep you fresh and keep you riding a bike. I mean, that's a real big safety thing, you know, rather than just thinking, I forgot now to ride my motorbike. Which one's a throttle? Which one's a brake? Whereas now the lads are riding a motorbike that they're going to head off down Bray Hill, you know, so they understand what the bike's doing and the brain's up to speed. And I mean, ultimately, that's the big thing with the TT. We need track time, and because it's so fast, your brain needs that time to build up to the speed. And it's nice now that we've got the racing now has changed, the structure has changed quite drastically this year. It's a big change for everybody, really, the spectators, the riders, but ultimately that's to give us riders more track time effectively for to get used to the bikes and more racing. I mean, again, the TT only happens once a year. And so for me to have more, for the riders to have more races, more chance of riding the circuit, it's brilliant. You know, it's really good, and it actually gives the marshals a bit more of a rest because the late days aren't so long for the marshals stuck on the mountain. So everyone hopefully should be happy with the job.
So one thing we were actually having just a bit of a chat about off mic before this started was around the financial side of things for the TT, and for some outfits, particularly those who aren't with, let's call them the factory rides, it can be a big task. I mean, how big a challenge is it in this day and age to get a bike on the grid at the TT?
Well, yeah, is it? I mean, it's motorsport, and nothing in motorsport is cheap. As soon as you put racing on the box of anything, it doubles in price, and it has no guarantee. And yeah, it is a very big financial commitment to all the teams, all the riders that are out on the grid, you know. And I have always said, though, it's the only circus in town where the clowns pay to entertain the crowd, but that's the way it is. You know, we all choose to do it. You know, we don't have to do it, but the pleasure that we get from doing it far outweighs the financial costs. You know, because you literally, you know, you work all year just to have your fun for 2 weeks, and you know, that's, some people want to go down the pub every night and smoke, but you know, you've got to prioritise on where you want to put your money into, don't you? So, and you know, we're very fortunate again that the lads are willing to just, you know, sacrifice everything to have some fun around the circuit.
On the flip side of that, it seems like the TT's influence, as it's done over many years, has spread more, because I think you mentioned the fact that, you know, we have people from more far-flung places coming to take part in it in whatever capacity. So that clearly shows that the reputation of the TT continues to grow.
Yeah, I mean, the global market is immense, and now that's the good thing now with social media and the internet. It's really, really, really pushed the TT to a global audience, whereas before maybe it was just more of like a British audience or maybe European audience, whereas now it is literally global, and that's the massive, massive thing. You know, the TT Plus that we have now as well, it's literally just fantastic that people from around the world can watch it, and you know, it's a big global thing now, and that's the there's a lot of people out there that don't even know about the TT, and you know, it's fantastic, and that's the good thing now with everything now, like you say, that technology and stuff, that they can actually see a bit of it and think, wow, yeah, even if they didn't want to come here TT week, at least they'd come and see the Isle of Man in the middle of July or, you know, October and stuff. I mean, I know myself, I used to live up by the grandstand, and you'd be walking past the grandstand with me dog, and there'll be a couple of little tourists up there taking pictures on the podium, and you're like, this is the middle of November, and you're like, it's for some people, obviously, it's the dream bucket list thing to come to the Isle of Man and see the track.
Now, with the elements of, I suppose, the safety of the TT, it got brought up again during last year, from whether it was people in person or, say, social media, and with all the disruption and the circumstances that happened, some people were quite critical of the way things were run. I've already spoken with the clerk of the course to get his view on it, but you know, from your side of thing, being on the ground with those riders, I mean, do you understand some of the criticism that came in, or do you see it in a completely different way? I
think for myself, as regards to that side of things, as a rider, an ex-rider, we all know the risks. We all do. It is immensely dangerous, but life's immensely dangerous also. You know, you've got to live your life, and it is, yes, there's no beating around the bush. It is dangerous, and again, like I was saying to you earlier, you know, all the lads that are on that start line are experienced motorbike racers, and they've all lost or seen people get hurt at various places around the circuit. It's Donington Park or Spa or Brands Hatch, or, you know, motorcycles are dangerous things. You know, you are. I always think that when you're riding a motorbike, you're living your life. You're not just existing. You know, there's a difference, isn't there? And you know, we all know the risks. And again, everybody on that start line has been hurt by motorbikes in some way or form or way, whether it's they've lost a friend, or you know, or they've hurt themselves, or so we all do know. Yeah, and again, nobody's holding a gun to our heads. We all know, understand, and stuff, and we have to try and make it as safe as possible. But you know, it is a road race when it comes down to it. It's not a homologated circuit where you got miles and miles of runoff. You know, there are hedges and telegraph poles and lampposts right next to the circuit, and you know, it is dangerous. Yeah, there's no, you can't beat around the bush, but we have to try and make it as safe as possible as we can. And I think we've made a big step forward again with the marshal trainings and stuff like this, and the electronic flags. And every year we're trying to develop it and make it even as safe as we possibly can. So yeah, I mean, you've always got to keep trying to push that safety side of things. And you know, just even like with the likes of myself and Barty, you know, as regards to doing the newcomers teaching, that's hopefully a bit of a safety thing as well. So yeah, it's tough, and you've always got to keep working at it. But you know, I mean, ultimately that's our prime thing, is to make it as safe as possible.
I suppose maybe on a bit of a lighter note, as it were, now that the fortnight's only a couple of days away, and the island just seems to obviously just explode into more life as soon as that first weekend comes around before the first practice session. So do you thrive off that, the idea that everything just starts to, not just on the track but off the track, go at 1,000,000 miles an hour? Or did it take you time in your role to get used to that? I mean, I suppose, does it ever get old?
No, I don't think so. It's a bit like the circus coming to town, isn't it? You know, you're all excited about it, and it's amazing to see everyone getting ready for it and anticipating. I mean, I see it every day in my job. I'm a bus driver by trade, and you know, everyone gets on the bus. Oh, you know, TT's nearly here, and you can see everyone getting excited about it. Just even the people that aren't necessarily involved in it or interested in it, they just love that buzz of the island coming alive. And it is. I mean, I'm very, very passionate about the Isle of Man. It's the best place in the world to live, and it is the best place for me ever. You know, and it's nice all year round, but especially TT time when it starts to come alive. I mean, motorbikes are my passion, so what better thing can happen is we hold a motorbike race in the best place in the world. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Just one final question, and I've been waiting for a long, long time to ask this, and you're probably sick of hearing it from other people. Do you miss the racing?
Yeah. It is for the uninitiated. You think we're all completely mad and crazy, but it's the best thing you could ever want to do with yourself. It really is. It's insane, but it's an amazing insane. It's just I really do miss it. I really do miss it. I mean, you've got to, everyone grows old, and I'm too old, too fat, too slow now, but I just class myself very fortunate that I was able to do it. And it is fantastic. It is just the best experience of your life. And again, that's why I feel a little bit jealous when I see the newcomers and help them. And I'm thinking, I wish I was in their situation where I was going to experience another, again, good 10, 15 years of riding around this place. And it's fantastic.
Thank you for having the stamina to make it to the end of the Manx Radio Sportscast. You're clearly someone who has their eye on the ball at all times. Want to hear more about the latest sporting news across the Isle of Man and much more? Then might I recommend you take the plunge and subscribe to this series or a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so that, in a flash, all of our finest moments take a winner's place on your smartphone. Thank you.